All right, so this is kind of the location I'm thinking of. It's really hard to show hills on camera, but this is sort of a steep incline. I don't know if you can tell. This is sort of level, and then up here is sort of an incline area. It's nice and well, it's nice and shaded, and there's lots of material around here to sort of make my my roof structure and my base structure. And I'm sure there's some dirt underneath all those leaves that I can use in order to make the walls. So this is where I'm going to start. Probably clear this area a little bit, and then the first part about this build is to actually dig a hole, because that's essentially the bottom part of this. Well, good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a special build, and it's something I've been looking at for a little while, and it's kind of like the early settlers did in early settling of Canada and around the world. The Eastern Europeans came to our country, and this is how they would settle. They would build a bordei. I don't know if I'm saying it right, or bordei, and it's essentially what it is a little cabin that is built into a side of a hill. And what they usually do is take off the topsoil or the sod, keep it aside to build the rest of the structure, and then they build kind of like a crude structure using sticks and whatever they can find, and then they use kind of like a daub sort of style to parge the walls, and they kind of, it's a makeshift shelter that they build before they build their main structure in the future. So that's what I'm going to try to do today, using modern and some primitive tools in order to kind of achieve my goal. But my idea is to build a primitive shelter, or burdei, what they would have done in the past. And I'm just going to see just how easy, how quickly I can build it, and how comfortable it is in the end. A bordei, or burdei, is a small dugout type of house built half into the ground. These were common in the mountains and steppes of Eastern Europe. The bordei that we modeled our build after was actually from a book called Farewell to the Gypsy Colony, and it was published in 1976. There was a photographer by the name of Tamas Revezei. I don't know if I'm spelling or saying that right. He's from Budapest. He was born in 1946, and he did a photo kind of journalistic exploration of the gypsy colonies. In countries like Romania or Ukraine, the bordei was built to constitute a permanent housing place and could accommodate a whole family. Thus, a bordei could have multiple rooms, typically a fire room where the stove was installed, a cellar, and a living room. Our challenge today is to try to build this simple wartime structure in a limited amount of time, with limited skills, using limited hand tools like shovels, hammers, axes, and so forth. I will use materials that people would have discarded, like tin cans, pipes, and also fasteners like nails, but also a lot of natural materials as possible, like grasses, twigs, and sticks, and possibly mud. The main goal is to build something that is resourceful, but also impoverished people could have lived in full time and also stay warm, dry, and out of the elements. I really wanted to see how people lived sort of in historic times and how they coped with tragedy and suffering while still making the most of their fortune, good or bad. I want to see just how long it would have taken to build this simple hut, how much skill it would have involved, and how warm we could have made it. Ultimately discover if these are worth building at all, should the need arise. As we move along, I'm going to talk about how and why I used the material I did, and talk about what I've learned in putting this simple bordei together. At the end of the build, we'll share a simple wartime meal together over the open fire. I hope you will join me until the end of this video to pay our respects for humans who suffered greatly and offered us a more modern existence with far more luxuries than even they could have dreamed of. Well, we've gotten this far so far, and it's not going terribly. What Don has discovered is that it's easier to do a little bit more weaving than it is to do mudding, and well, I think it's a little bit of both. If you do more weaving, you do less mud. We got a lot of mud, a lot of clay. So Don's gonna weave and I'm gonna mud. We're trying to get the wall kind of buttoned up this way. So Don's adding the sticks in a weaving fashion. We're going to leave like a little bit of an air window here. We have a little window on the other side because we want some airflow in this thing, because there is going to be a wood stove on the inside of this thing. So yeah, Don's like basket weaving 101. What do you think, Don? It looks like a great basket. A beaver would be proud of that thing. It's a nice little dam you got going on there. We just got to fill it with some clay and then it'll be all set. We'll just skim off the top. We haven't really decided what we're going to do with the roof. I think traditionally what would occur with the roof, it would be like an old piece of canvas or a piece of like leather hide or something like that. Would have been, you know, something of the time, but we don't really have that. Our budget on this thing is nothing. Basically a bunch of sticks and a bunch of clay and whatever we can find.
We don't have any muskox.
Muskox?
Yeah.
Would a muskox would have been the original?
I don't know. Or a buffalo? Maybe?
Or a buffalo, like rib cage would have been useful. Like we could have made this thing all out of bones. That would have been like right out of the Ewok village. That would be kind of cool. Didn't they make their whole village out of bones from like dinosaurs or something? I don't know. That would, if we had a bunch of a giant rib cage, an elephant rib cage, that would work. No elephants around here though. All right, we're gonna keep using sticks and some clay. See how far we can get on the build, but yeah, it seems to be. I think I got some old tarps that we're gonna end up using on the roof because I kind of want to make it waterproof. But again, I don't want to really spend any money, so that's it's holding up pretty good. It's solid. It's solid as a rock, but made out of clay. The clay that we used was actually found on site. It was not terribly difficult to work with. We first started adding a little bit of water to make it a little bit more pliable, and then we worked it with shovels, and then we actually took it and we worked it within our hands to give it a little bit of Play-Doh-like consistency, and then we were able to work it into the cracks, kind of like a mesh, Play-Doh kind of plaster. I guess they call it the daub effect, which we kind of plastered the walls with that, and that allowed us to make the front wall very uniform in shape and consistency, and actually gave it a little bit of style. We were able to shape the windows the way we wanted to, just by building up the daub in strategic places to kind of give us that shape and that consistency. It actually worked out rather well once we got the hang of it. The idea behind the daub was not to make it too wet where it would slough off and not have it too dry, which was very difficult to work with, and it wouldn't stick to itself. All right, well, we've been working on the outside and the inside front portion of this cabin. I've been using clay that we've got laying around, and I've got some rubber gloves that I'm kind of using because it's otherwise you get a whole lot of mud in this thing. It's not the easiest to work with. We've been kind of weaving in cedar branches in kind of, and we take the clay and we kind of squash it in between the branches in order to hold the branches in place. We're trying to use as little, modern technology as possible to get this thing to look the part and to feel the part, because we want to have air sealing so we can actually heat this thing up inside. That's what our ultimate goal is. But we're adding like litter from the forest floor. We're adding some branches and some pieces of cedar chunks and some leaves and stuff, and that's kind of giving us the fiber in our diet in order to really get this stuff to stick. So we're gonna be working on that. Don is gonna be working on the roof trusses. He's gonna add a bunch of branches there and get that thing going. But we find it's kind of a slow go. It's not the quickest cabin to build, but it is pretty neat looking. In order to build the roof structure of the bordei, we ended up using a bunch of sticks. We laid the sticks parallel to the ground level, and then we ran sticks perpendicular to them, and we had some old tarp. Typically they would use canvas or some sort of leather hides, and they would drape those over top, and then they would add more dirt, kind of creating a thermal mass sort of area in order to protect themselves from the elements and also the rain and the snow and the sleet and all that sort of stuff. Well, I'm already finding it pretty comfortable in here. Got the roof on. What we've done is we've actually tacked in some of the fine sand in between the rafters in order to hold them in place. And we put our ridge beam at the top. We've got another beam on top of that. Now, I'm not sure what they would have done for waterproofing back in the day. Possibly like a canvas or like a leather hide or something like that. Or possibly some old tin they had laying around, or some copper plate or something that was waterproof. Now, we don't really have any hides or you know, that kind of thing. So I think I'm going to use lumber tarp because, well, it's free, and in the period that I'm building this thing, it's they're readily accessible at pretty much any lumber yard. So if you want to build yourself one of these things, you can just go and ask them really nicely, and usually they're more than willing to give them. So they're the cover tarps on lumber when it gets delivered. So that's what we're probably going to do on this thing, and then we can add more material on top, because one of the worst things is actually sound of rain on tarp. That you don't really want that. So we'll cover it again with something else so it kind of absorbs that thing, that sound, and then also what it's going to do is sort of give it more insulation. So we want airspace in order to trap the heat inside this cabin. It's really shaping up. It's actually quite comfortable. It's like a Posturepedic mattress down here. Just carve whatever you want into the ground. It's got your own lazy boy you can make in here. Anything you want, really. Just carve it out of sand. But the rain's coming, so we gotta get this thing. We gotta get the roof on this thing. Here is a really good place to actually grab some hay in order to make my bed a little bit more comfortable and stuff up all the little cracks that I can't get with the mud. And this will provide much needed insulation and stop any kind of drafts, any little cracks. It'll also keep the floor dry. Well, we're on the inside now. We're going to be working on the fireplace next. Now, I want to have sort of a cooking area here. I'm kind of sitting where my bed is, but I want to have enough room to actually maneuver before I get the bed in place. So what my plan is to take this old can. It's an old can. I think it was a old gas can or something. Doesn't smell like gas, and actually it's got holes in the back of it, so it's got the authentic old school oldness to it. And my plan is to use this as a firebox. It's going to go right about here. And the idea behind this guy is that I'll have enough air with the spout. So what I can do is I can actually open this thing if I need more air for combustion wise. And then I'm going to put the chimney pipe, which is, again, just an old rickety piece of pipe. It's going to go like this and then up through the roof, and then I'm going to use clay as a gasket to ensure that my ceiling doesn't just catch fire. So first I got to cut a hole, and then I'm going to mount it somehow. I might actually just mound up dirt and then pile up rocks there, and that should hold the firebox away from anything combustible. Yeah, that's my plan. I think it should work. What do you guys think? That didn't work. Gotta make a hole. Use my axe. There we go. Actually, what I can probably do is flatten out the surface of it and give myself kind of a cooking area on top. Flat spot. This should work okay. Make sure that thing fits in there. How did that happen? It's perfect. Look at it. It perfectly fits inside there. I just gotta flatten it out a bit. Come on. Apparently, I can't use it with an axe. Alright, so. Okay. act like a hinge. Like that. And then I can close it. There. And that goes right there. That's actually a pretty good spot for it. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a pedestal. I want a little bit off the ground, but I don't actually want it up too high, because what I want it to do is actually heat from the ground up. So it heats the cold air, and then all the hot air goes up. All right, get a little bit of dirt there. Build a little sand castle. Actually get some of these sticks, get some kindling in here. Fireplace area. You know what I might do? I might actually just bury the entire firebox. That'd be a heck of a thermal mass. I don't know, that's a good idea. My ever-evolving sort of fireplace. Go like this. No reason why that should work. What a heat shield is basically a buffer. It allows it to get closer to your combustible surfaces without combusting it. So I'm just going to essentially make a sleeve with this thing. I'm going to try to make it closer to my pipe size, and that can go through the roof, and then we can pack that with clay, be non-combustible, and that should give us a nice little gasket. I think it's pretty good. And because I want this pipe to actually be in the center of this thing, I'm going to cut little tabs that's going to hold the pipe. Probably good. The plan now is to make a bed, and I was going to make it like a little platform. Then I was thinking, why don't I just use my end walls? They're like right in the dirt, and it's got to be the most supportive bed I've ever made. So I'm just going to actually make a hole in this far corner, and then in this corner I'm just going to go, and then that's going to be the bed. And I got some pieces that I can put in there. Just use my trusty hoe. What I got for my bedding is some long grass, and that's going to work really well, nice and comfortable for my bedding. And the great thing about being late in the season is that you don't really have any bugs in it because it's, well, because it's cold. So there we go. Gives you a new meaning to hitting the hay, right? Actually, that's the actual meaning, because beds used to be made out of hay. And what you would do is you would get into bed and then you hit the hay, and that would chase out any of the bugs that were in the hay, so you could get a good night's sleep. So that's what that's where it originates, the hitting the hay. Let's see how well this works. Oh, that's so comfortable. It's actually quite nice. I need a rock pillow. I should probably make myself a pillow. It's actually quite comfortable. It's nice and quiet too. We got quite enough on the top that you don't really have that sitting in a plastic bag sort of feel to you. It's pretty good. So anyway, I think that bed's a success. Now we just gotta worry about some sort of flooring. I'm probably gonna use some bark for that, and it'll keep me out of the sand, because I don't want sand in my bed. I'll just keep playing with the hay a little bit to try to get a little bit softer. Well, while I wait for my outside fire to kind of heat up so I can cook on it, it's about dinner time, I wanted to fire up my indoor stove to see how well it works. I'm a little reluctant because I am sitting in a building made of straw, sticks, and some hay. And yeah, but I think my stove is pretty safe. I know it is made out of galvanizing, and I know it's a bad idea, but I read that galvanizing only vaporizes around 800 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think I'm going to get that hot. And if I do get that hot and I see that the melting of the galvanizing is starting to melt, then I'll just leave and let it kind of burn off. That's pretty much how you get rid of the galvanizing in the first place. But I don't think it's going to get that hot. If you guys are concerned, your ductwork at home is made out of galvanized steel. Although it only gets up to about 160 or so Fahrenheit in the plenum area. Anyways, it should be fine. What's the worst case that can happen? Gotta drink a couple glasses of milk. Get rid of zinc poisoning. That's what was happening back in the day when they were welding, galvanizing. They discovered that they get like flu-like symptoms from galvanizing poisoning. And yeah, they would drink milk. Milk of magnesia, I think it was the sort of a cure for zinc poisoning. We're not going to go that far. We're jumping to conclusions. Let's see if this thing actually works and drafts and burns, and hopefully we don't get it that hot. There's lots of ventilation. I have a window right here, so yeah, I'm just gonna kind of get it. This is my my fatwood stick that allows me to easily light a fire. Can't see anything in there. There we go. Can you guys see? Can you guys see my little stove? I got some little cedar sticks, nice and dry. I've got some hardwood that I'm going to be burning. I'm not going to load it too hot. My idea is to cook my my baked potato on top of this thing, and cook my steak outside. That's my plan. Anyways, let's see if we can get this thing lit, get her fired up, see what the draft is like. I'm always curious with new stoves, especially homemade stoves, whether or not they're going to work. Oh, I got almost complete confidence in this thing. Get my... Oh, there's a couple sharp edges on this. Oh, hang on, where is it? There. Oh, we got her lit. My fat wood is lit. Oh, I didn't take my draft nozzle off. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the spout on the gas can is my draft. So what it'll do is it'll actually pull air in through this little hole here, and kind of get the fire going, ripping. Oh, she's lit. Okay, well, I just got to load her up, get her burning. It's actually not it's not crazy chilly today. It's a little it'd be nice to take the edge off a little bit to try to get it a little bit warmer in here. It is kind of humid because it is made out of dirt, but I think once we get the stove, the fire going, we'll try it out. As you can see, the smoke is kind of coming out the front door. It's not quite drafting yet, but that's normal with wood stoves. Generally speaking, you have to get the flue warmed up. Sometimes what you do is you take newspaper and you throw it in there and you light it up, and it gets the stovepipe nice and hot. Because what's happening right now is the actual draft is coming down the pipe and out the front. So that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. But as you can see, it slowly changes, and what happens is the pipe heats up and then natural draft occurs, and the fire smoke won't come out the front door, which is a good thing when you're in here. You know, you don't be huffing smoke. All right, I think our chimney is getting warmer. It is really thick steel, so it takes a little bit of time to get warm, but once that's warmed up, I'm pretty sure it's gonna draft okay. There we go, my little, my Dr. Seuss pipe was actually taking the air kind of directly into it, and now it's kind of blowing it away, so that'll be perfect. Should draw more smoke away from the inside of it. All right, it's pretty close to potato time. I'm gonna just wrap this guy up here. A little bit of old tinfoil I had laying around. It's already already crumpled up. I like to reuse my tinfoil, which I'm leaving like a little tuft at the bottom to keep it up off the surface because I don't want to fry the potato. I just want to bake the potato, so I'm going to put it right there. It's going to get the heat. I'll leave that there. Then I can go outside. I'm going to cook my steak on the open fire because I want a flame grilled one. But that thing seems to be working really well. It's actually throwing off quite a bit of heat. It's actually quite warm in here now. I'll just be able to fill the stove up. I don't think it's going to need much. It actually works crazy awesome. If I had a little bit more time, I could probably make like a proper door on that thing. I don't really want to jostle it too much because it might actually like disconnect from the thing. But what we could do is make this into a rocket stove, and that would really hold a lot of the thermal mass. What I have around the stove now is a bunch of rocks, which is going to retain the heat and then radiate back at night. If I were to sleep overnight in here, I have covers for the doors. So what I would do, because I wouldn't want a fire like this running while I'm sleeping, what I would do is actually heat it up during the day, collect all the thermal mass I can, and then once the fire is out, you would close the door and retain all your heat, because you are in the ground. So the ground temperature generally stays around 50 degrees Fahrenheit all year round. It doesn't matter, like middle of winter, the ground is at that temperature. So what you would do is, so you want to heat it up as best you can and retain your heat through thermal mass, through those heavy things, whether it be water or rock or earth. If you can keep that heat overnight, and I think this kind of setup would work really, really well. You could pile the rocks all the way around the chimney flue and then really collect all that heat, and it would radiate back throughout the night until you were able to kind of, wake up in the morning, light yourself another fire and carry on. Because I think having a setup like this isn't the safest, but you know what? It's better to be, not safe and survive the night in sub-zero temperatures than to freeze, fall asleep, and never wake up. So that's, I think this is working really, really well, especially to make my baked potato. Good shape. I don't see any discoloration on the stove at all. It seems to be kind of staying the course. But so far, so good. My fire's all ready to go. Got a big old hunk of meat. Oh, the smoke always follow me. Oh. I'm gonna go low and slow right about there. Oh. I don't know, I just gotta wait for dinner to be done. Potatoes cooking in the cabin. We're all set. This is gonna be like a gourmet dinner. Well, she fell off a couple times, but I think it's done. I don't want to touch it. It's too hot. Probably tastes like, well, it smells good. Is it gonna be like shoe leather? Maybe if I just, oh, hot. Huh. Tender and juicy on the inside. That's like a perfectly done steak on fire. You want some meat? Yeah, take a bite. It's delicious. Oh. Potato. You see that? I think it's good. Wow, it's perfect. It's got the sear lines on the stick and everything. It's delicious. You guys want a bite? Seasoned with nothing at all. Grilled to perfection. It's better than eating dirt. The pioneers would have loved this. It's a little dry. It's definitely delicious. All right, let's go back inside, see how the fire's doing, see how warm it is in the cabin. Oh, she's nice and warm. She's got nice and toasty. I can see how this would be a great little spot for sleeping. I don't think I'm not gonna sleep in here tonight, but maybe in the future. This is definitely an overnight worthy adventure. I just got a couple little things I gotta tweak, but I think it's pretty good. I don't know if I showed you guys these, but what I did was I had some old lumber tarp and I used them for the windows to keep the heat in. What I did was I did like a double ply, and that sort of like a thermal pane window. I also did the top, but I didn't close it because you guys wouldn't be able to see very much. But there's the door. So again, it's double ply, so it absolutely traps an airspace inside, which will actually keep me nice and toasty. But you can see I still have lots of ventilation, because it's important to have ventilation, especially when you have a wood burning stove going. But yeah, very cozy, very comfortable, very dry. That's the idea behind this. And then your bed is up high where I am right now. I don't know if you guys can see. You got the bed, you got the light shining through the window, but that's the bed there. Very comfortable, very cozy, and you're up off the ground, and you have your nice cozy thermal mass radiating throughout the night. I think this would actually work really well. I can see why the pioneers, when they first came, would build these as a temporary shelters before they built, you know, a more permanent structure. These things they seem to be really, really good. Highly recommended. You're settling in a new land and you need to build a house. This is the one to build. The BORDEI. BORDEI. Still don't really know how to pronounce that. BORDEI? BORDEI or BORDEI? One of those. Anyways. I'm going to sit here and enjoy the fire. One little note, if you guys want me to spend an overnight in the BORDEI, just leave a comment down below, and maybe I will consider it in the future. Just give it a test run for its money. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.